Hello everyone, my name is Gerald and I'm doing some work on a 2008 Chrysler 300. It's an all-wheel drive model. It's got about 95,000 miles on it. It's a good friend of mine. Had a turn signal problem. He turned the turn signal over on, went to turn a corner, and let go of the wheel to come back. The steering wheel didn't come back. Scared him, of course it would, and he actually had to yank the steering wheel over, and it actually made a cracking sound inside. So something happening in the turn signal area, the turn signal lever, the actuator, the cancel cam system. So we got to tear the car apart. We're going to see what happened inside, and figured I'd bring you along for that. It's my first attempt at making an automotive repair video like this, so if you like it, great. If you don't, hey, I get it. Problem is the turn signal lever over here, which you can sort of see it in my hand, was having issues where when, like I say, he turned the wheel, I want to turn back, now it's moving, I can tilt loose, no big deal, it's just a matter of pushing the lock on. He made a right hand turn, and let your wheel slide back, and it wouldn't come back. He had to pull it, it cracked inside, started making a squealy noise every time he turned the wheel right to left, and every time he did, the turn signal lever would jump up and jump down. Actually turn turn signal off and on. So it quit doing that until he got it into the parking space at home. But of course he's afraid to drive it, and you can't blame him. You can't blame somebody when the steering wheel locks into position on the road. That can kind of be a little scary. So we're gonna go in here and see what's happening. So first thing, to get in there, we got to take the steering wheel off of it, and to get to that, we got to do the airbag, which is held on by two 10mm bolts in the back side here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this forward a little bit. Gives a little more room. Hopefully it doesn't make it too hard to see. And it'd be two 10mm bolts in the back side of the airbag that hold that on. This car did have the airbag recall done, passenger and driver side. Hopefully this cordless isn't too loud for you. Turn it a little bit so we can gain access. There's just two big holes in the back, 10mm bolts. Well, 10mm size head, and I believe they are, if I'm thinking right, I think that's 8mm thread on those. Yeah, I think that's 8mm. 8x125. Nah, it's probably smaller than 8x125. But anyway, metric bolts, not a big deal. And there's two of them. Get them pulled out here. I'm just using the socket to get the last little bit of thread. It's easier to control the bolt, be able to pull it out. Okay, there's the bolt, 10mm head, and I don't know what size the thread is. Could be 6 even, for all I know. 6 or 8. It's not really important. Not like we got to replace them or anything. We're just taking them off, get them out of our way. Make sure you try to get your steering wheel straight ahead as possible, because we're going to be messing with the clock spring, because that's underneath this. So we're going to pull the airbag up. It just slides up pretty easy. And first thing we're going to run into on the top, you can see it right here, is the horn button wiring. And that's basically just a little lift tab. Kind of pull up and slide it apart. Like that. Ouch. That hurt. Then the airbag itself, that's already popped off, but sometimes these should be hooked right here. This little loop will just kind of sit right there, kind of guides the airbag wire. So that comes off. And then the release tabs of the airbag, and this is a 2-stage airbag, that's why it has 2 connectors. Okay, and of course, 2-stage airbag is based on occupant classification, how big a person is. A lot of factors involved there. It won't blow the airbag as hard depending on the need, but that's why it's considered a 2-stage airbag. So these little tabs on the side, push-in tabs on the side of it, and you just push them in and you lift up on it. I'm going to use a little bit of a tool here, because when they're both in there, it's hard to get them both pushed in and pulled at the same time. Okay, just pull it up and release it. Same thing on the next one. Push 2 tabs in, release it, take the airbag out. Worried about these airbags. When you put them somewhere in the car because you don't want it in your way here. You don't be kicking it around or anything. You don't want to mess it up. You want to set these down, but you want to set these down that this face is up. So you don't want to set it like this, because if you do, if something was to happen, nothing should happen because these have shorting bars. These are short. These little gold connections inside are shorted across. So you can see it there. Automatically when you unplug them, and it should keep any current from going through there, any voltage or anything that would set this airbag off. But for safety reasons, if something was to happen, you don't want to lay it like this, because that thing becomes an automatic shrapnel rocket. So when you set it down somewhere in the car, I usually set them in the passenger floorboard. It's safe out of the way. And of course, with these studs sticking down, you don't want that laying on leather seats or something like that, because it make indentations and mess it up. So lay it down like that. It's safe. Thing's totally safe to handle. Move around. If you're worried about being in the car, carry it out and put it on your workbench. It doesn't really matter. I'll set it in the car. I'm happy with that. And lay it down like that. That way, if it goes off, the airbag blows out like it normally would. Yeah, stuff will fly, but it shouldn't be a problem. So, or at least less of a problem. Let's put it that way. Okay, so the next thing, you'll see you have some wiring in here, of course. You just saw us unhook that. You have another connector here down the bottom. Some are white, some are black. This connector runs your cruise mechanism and any steering wheel buttons that you might have. This car doesn't have any steering wheel buttons, just the cruise unit. But if it be, you know, your radio, your menu buttons, or anything like that, depending on what model you're working on. Again, this is Chrysler. It may be different for others, but I think most manufacturers now all have the radio volume up and down buttons and all that stuff that would be on here. This wiring is for that. So this is just a matter of a little push tab on the back side. Push in, pull out. So it's a little white push tab there. It's probably not real visible in the camera, but we're hoping it is. You push, release, pull it out. This harness right here with the airbag and everything will stay with the column. This harness up here with a horn will stay with the steering wheel when you pull it out. This is held in by a 10mm hex or Allen, whichever way you want to call it, bolt in the center. The steering wheel, for the most part, doesn't require a puller. Well, you could probably get a puller onto it if you had to somehow. It's probably some kind of like 2-jaw. If it was necessary, a lot of steering wheels are held in with quite a bit of force, and you have to use a puller. But this one is not. It's splined with a tapered head bolt and holds it in just fine. So break it loose, and once we get it loose, just pull the bolt out. Simple enough. See, it's got a little Loctite patch on there. It's fine. I've never seen these work loose. So, okay, so that's that. So we're going to pull the steering wheel loose. Like I said, they come off real easy. We're going to guide this wire through the steering wheel as we go. It's got a hole in it. You can see it there. And we're just going to guide the wire in. Sometimes it's better to take and get a hold of one piece and pull it through, not try to pull the whole mass out because it's just not enough room. Alright, that's your steering wheel off. We'll set him to the side. I use him in the passenger seat, face down, well, ring down, that way it's upholstery against upholstery and doesn't do any damage. Now, we made sure we set the steering wheel straight ahead as possible because we want this clock spring to stay straight ahead as possible. Now, it did turn, but it's not a big deal. It didn't turn a full turn. As long as you don't wind this thing around, you won't break the clock spring, okay? This clock spring from factory would have a lock up here. It's a little locking pull tab. But, of course, you won't have that right now. So what you do, and this is in service information, you back off one of the 3 bolts. Or all of them in the case that we're gonna take this all the way out because we want to see what's going on in this turn signal mechanism. So, I'm going to back that out. And this is what you would do for service. It keeps it from moving. Okay, it's kind of like self-locking. So we're going to back that out. And there's 3 of them here. And by the way, this, if it has the Torx, they're usually 10mm Torx, or I shouldn't say 10mm, just a 10 Torx. I'm not quite sure where the 10, 5, the 9, well, you know, the numbers that come through, and they're all even. I said 5 and 9, I'm just being funny. But they have, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20, 22, 24 even, I think, on Torx goes up to now. And I've seen, well, even up to 60 Torx. So you just basically back these out, and we want to back this out because we want to see what's up underneath it here and see what's happened. Once it's out, I should be able to pull it and unplug it, and basically it unplugs inside, and you'll have this long stem. Now, depending on the model year, some of them have a removable piece, and some of them, this piece is part of the clock spring. This one, it happens to be molded to the clock spring. You can see that. But they're variations, so you just got to kind of watch your model years and everything else, and you know, we'll go from there. So, looking at this, what we have is a broken clock spring mechanism, and this has snapped off from the inside. I don't know if it's going to be visible or not, inside of here in this area. The plastic's giving it up, so that's where our problem's at. That piece is going to have to be replaced. It really doesn't seem like it's any problem with the turn signal lever itself. I'm looking at it, it's not broken. The cancel mechanism is right there. Of course, that's the cancel mechanism is just springs out, and as the wheel comes around, and it's this portion of the steering wheel here, the not steering wheel, the clock spring. This portion sticks out and catches this cam mechanism to send it off. So that piece is broken. I mean, I can set it in, but it's broken, and that's where the issue is. But it's not just this piece that's broken. There's another whole section of this thing missing over here, you can see. So we need a clock spring, and makes life pretty simple on this one. So whatever happened, I guess when this piece snapped, or the other piece snapped that I don't see right now, when it snapped, it got jammed in here, because this outer piece turns here, and this piece stays in place because it's just plugged in. This actually plugs in down inside of here, and so that stayed still. But I guess this piece, or not this piece necessarily, but the other pieces, and there are a few small pieces down inside there, I see them. They must have got in between here and jammed this so the steering wheel wouldn't turn, and that's where our issue's at. So we need a clock spring, and checked out this piece, back order from Chrysler, no ETA, no production time, literally not set up for production right now. Yeah, Parts Geek, they listed this thing with an actual AG ending on the part number, so it's got the Mopar part number on it, and it says AG, which normally, if Mopar nomenclature, if you look at the last two letters, it's an A, can be an AA, AB, AC. If you look at it, and what you have is like, this is an AF. If the next part number you see is an AG, it is an updated part number. The pictures they have are perfect. It has the exact same plug on the front, it has this tag, and it has this wire stem on the back of it. So it looks exactly like what we got. I think the only difference is this connector is black, but I don't see that being a problem because it's just plastic. It can be any color they want it to be. And here's a shock. 60 bucks. Brand new. So the next time you see this video and this goofy shot of this car, we'll be putting a new one of these in. Talked to the owner of the vehicle, and he would like me to replace this mechanism also. So the next step is going to be to get this off. I'm going to have to take this whole piece off here, and I'm probably going to wait and do that all in one time once I get this in my hand. But yeah, I got to get this in my hand.